Right now at noon, one local hospital decides to close their emergency room. We'll have what the rural community is left with for options.
And we had a pretty cold start to our Halloween across the 4 states. We're going to take a look at that forecast and when we might see a warm-up coming up.
Plus, trick or treat, we have the list of this year's top Halloween candies.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us on KOAM News at Noon. I'm Caitlin O'Shaughnessy. In today's top story, Via Christi announced Tuesday that it's closing its emergency department in Fort Scott. According to a release, the healthcare provider will end operations at the emergency department on Wednesday, December 20th. The release states that there is a steady decline in visits. They said that, along with economic challenges, limit the emergency department's ability to remain open. Drew Talbot, the president of Via Christi Hospital in Pittsburgh, stated, quote, "After exploring the options available, it was clear that this was the only option for us. There are other providers in the region positioned to serve the residents of Fort Scott and neighboring communities. These providers will help us ensure continuity of care for our patients as we approach closure," end quote. And it's Halloween, and we all know what that means. It's time for costumes, candy, and carved pumpkins. But the origin of the spookiest holiday of the year is much less commercial. It began as a pagan festival to mark the end of summer and the beginning of winter. During early Christian times, All Hallows Eve honored the dead. In the late 19th century, the holiday lost some of its association with death, and people started celebrating with festivals and parties. So show off your most ghoulish ghost costume and eat all the candy corn you can stomach. Just don't forget to take a picture and share it with us on social media. Southwest Missouri has some of the most historical and eclectic homes in the country. One of them in North Carthage is the Kendrick House. It's 174 years old. It was used as a family home, a community hospital, and military headquarters back during the Civil War. Today, it's a living museum. As KOAM's Tanya Bach discovers, some claim its occupants are still there.
Elvira Kendrick, Joshua Kendrick, Austin Kendrick.
Lisa Martin is talking about the people who never left the Kendrick Mansion, the oldest home in Jasper County.
Rose, who was a servant of the family for many years. Elizabeth Kendrick, who was the first Mrs. Kendrick here.
Elizabeth and her husband, William Kendrick, built this modified federal-style house in 1849. Their home, one of the few to survive the Civil War.
They estimate that there would be about 1,000 guerrilla fighters ranging between Lamar and the Arkansas border. You never knew who was riding up, if they were a friend or foe.
The parlor room still has its war secrets, from the many times the women and children hid under the floor to the days when General Joe Shelby fed his horses out of the cabinet drawers.
Their feet left hoof prints. There's some on the floor over there, and there's a couple more that are actually under the carpet here.
During the Battle of Carthage, the table I'm lying on was used as a field hospital operating table. Today, when visitors come to the Kendrick House and lie on the table, they often have unusual experiences.
The Kendrick descendants lived in the home until the late 1960s. Today, a nonprofit runs the Kendrick House, with Martin on the board for the past 15 years. She's also a member of the Paranormal Science Lab research group.
Carol is very active in the house. We get lots of EVPs related to her.
William and Elizabeth's great-great-granddaughter, Carol Sue Janney, died from polio in 1936, just before she turned 3.
You wanted me to roll the ball?
Nicknamed Carrot, Martin says that she and her Aunt Pauline, who also died at a young age, often interact and play with visitors.
They're going about their days just like we are. And we just happen to run into each other sometimes.
And sometimes the girls and others in the home will even talk to you.
Carrot, was that you?
Oh.
It's nice to meet you, Carrot.
There are just some places that seem to have, that are almost like a way station. between this side and the other side.
A stopping point at the Kendrick House seems fitting for a home that's been around for 174 years. Reporting in Carthage, Missouri, Tanya Bach, KOAM News.
You can join the Paranormal Science Lab during their next investigation and haunted history tour at the Kendrick House. You can find a link to tickets on our website, and proceeds go to preservation efforts at the Kendrick House. And of course, now we're going to take it over to Chris for a look at your Halloween forecast.
Yeah, we had a pretty cold start to the day. It looked great, though, outside this morning. This is our camera on top of the Cornell Complex, downtown Joplin. You can see during the sunrise, beautiful, crisp, clear blue skies, but unfortunately, very cold temperatures. MoDOT camera 32nd and range line this morning. Also, great sunrise, great shot of those clear skies, but quite cold. Yesterday, look at this, not that far off of a record low. 27 is where we started the day, so nowhere near where we're supposed to be. 43 is where we made it. So again, 20 degrees off of where we should be for this time of year. Now, we are going to start to warm back up a bit, and this is the trend. So going through the weekend, we had the rain, we had that big cool down. Temperatures staying pretty darn chilly, but as we head toward the end of the week, as you can see, temperatures are really going to start to warm up. Going through the evening, it's going to be cold out there. Clear skies falling back to the mid-20s by midnight. So here's what we're keeping an eye on as we go through the rest of the week. We're going to stay chilly again with another freeze heading into tonight. Our temperatures, though, will begin to warm as we head into Wednesday. Not significantly yet, but they will warm. And then we've got some rain chances set to return this weekend. We're going to have more on that, plus your trick-or-treating forecast and that big warm-up that's coming up when we take a look at your full forecast. And, of course, that's coming up here in just a few more minutes. Caitlin?
Thanks, Chris. And in case you've been counting down all spooky season, Halloween is finally here. CandyStore.com has compiled a list of the top 10 most popular trick-or-treat choices. Reese's Peanut Butter Cups, M&M's, and Hot Tamales round out the top 3. And the controversial candy corn is back on the list at number 8. According to the National Retail Federation, Americans are expected to spend over $12 billion on Halloween this year. And that's a look at today's top stories and weather in the 4 states region. Up next on KOAM News at Noon. In Missouri, a tentative deal has been reacted between the United Auto Workers and General Motors. Could this mean the end of their 6-week strike? And later, we're making ghoulish glazed meatballs in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen. Stay tuned. In Missouri, a tentative deal has been reached between the United Auto Workers and General Motors. This could mean an end to a 6-week strike. On Monday, Justina Cornell spoke to members on the picket line in Wentzville.
Wentzville calls itself the crossroads of the nation. And the statement couldn't be more true after one of its biggest employers has been at a crossroads. For 6 weeks, UAW Local 2250 has been on strike against General Motors.
We just want it fair across the board.
Union member Tony Franklin has been out there every day after dedicating more than a decade to GM.
In 2008, the CEOs came to the UAW and asked us to make concessions to keep the companies afloat. We did. We were told that by making those concessions further down the line, we would get a lot of things that we gave up, that we would get it back. We're just fighting to get it back.
A tentative agreement with GM brings some warmth to Franklin on this cold day. The deal includes several benefits, including 25% general pay raises and cost of living adjustments. Combined, they bring the wage increase to over 30% over the life of the contract. Duke's barbecue owner Peter Venecia also tried to comfort crews, bringing food from the cook line to the picket line.
We fed each shift, all 3 shifts, each week for 3 weeks.
He explains he's excited to see business make a comeback.
The sub-suppliers, we haven't seen them for a few weeks because they've all been off, So now that they're ramped up, I imagine we'll start getting people from those companies order from us each week.
Now members wait for the green light to return to work. Before heading back, they drive home this message.
All we're doing is just trying to get the American dream and trying to get fair wages for everyone. Union
members will learn their return to work date after voting on the deal in the next few days. This tentative deal could bring an end to the union's unprecedented strike happening in multiple states against all three of the nation's unionized automakers. Still to come on KOAM News at Noon, we see what spooky Halloween treat Howard's cooking in the Mr. Food Test kitchen.
Today we're cooking up something in our witch's pot. I mean our slow cooker, and it's a ghostly treat. You might even say it's spooktacular.
Plus, we've got a chilly evening ahead of us. We'll take a look at trick-or-treating forecast and that warm-up that is on the way when we come back. Welcome back to the KOAM News at Noon. So, boy, we had a very cold start for us on this Halloween, and unfortunately, we've got a relatively cold evening ahead of us. We've got some changes on the way as well, so we are going to end up taking a look here down the road at what we're expecting. Now, in terms of temperatures, as we head into this evening, again, we're going to briefly hit highs in the low 40s today, later this evening. We're going to spend most of the day in the upper 30s, and of course that means overnight we get chilly again. We head into our Wednesday, our highs are a bit warmer, pushing a little closer to 50, maybe a few clouds here and there, but otherwise still looking pretty darn good at this point. Another chilly evening Thursday. However, we're going to warm up even more by Thursday, and if you can believe it, we're going to warm up even more as we head into Friday, because check this out, starting Friday in the low 40s instead of the low 20s out there, and we're looking at highs right around the 60s. And then we head into Saturday, another fairly warm day out there, but as you can see, we also have a few showers that are going to be possible late in the evening Saturday and maybe lingering into early Sunday morning. Earlier this morning, beautiful sunrise, clear blue skies out there, MODOK camera 32nd in range line. It looked great, but it was just cold. Same from our camera on the Cornell complex, downtown Joplin. Of course, winds beginning to pick up. Going to be gusty through the day, so our wind chills might fall back into the upper 20s in some points of the afternoon. But otherwise, we're going to hold on to these clear skies. And earlier this morning as well, even some frost from the KDOT camera at 69 and East 520th Avenue, of course, just south of Pittsburgh. So for the rest of today, again, later this evening, as wild as that sounds, we're going to end up hitting our highs in the low 40s. It's going to be maybe a couple-hour period that we're in the low 40s. We're otherwise spending the majority of the day in the upper 30s. That north wind still 10 to 15, gusting to 25, but we'll have plentiful sunshine out there. As we head into this evening, it's going to be spooky and it's going to be cold. We are looking at temperatures falling back into the low 20s overnight tonight, but we'll still have those clear skies. So another freeze out there, and the wind still north at around 5 to 10 miles an hour. So for those of you trick-or-treating, it's going to be cold. You're going to need to either bundle up, which I know that kind of ruins the costume aspect, or you can go to KOAMNewsNow.com, and at the top of our page is a link to all of the events going on, and you might be able to find some that are indoors where it's warm, because look at these temperatures falling below freezing as we head through the evening hours out there. This guy, I'm not sure why he's so excited. Maybe it's because he's inside with a nice fire, because it is going to be cold tonight. We head into our Wednesday across the area. Again, a little bit warmer, a little closer to 50. Winds still gusty, but here's the big change. They shift out of the south, and you know what that means. Southerly breeze, warmer weather on the way, still gusting to 20. So we're going to go again near 50 tomorrow, near 60 by Thursday, mid-60s by Friday, still sunshine. Shower chances Saturday, and of course we want to remind you to make sure you set your clocks back an hour. You've earned that extra sleep, but look at that high near 70. And as you saw in our almanac earlier, we're going to be a lot more fall-like as we head into the next week as well. Some rain chances are going to be possible for us on Monday and Thursday, but as you can see, temperatures staying a lot better out there, much more seasonable as we hang out in the low to mid-60s. Caitlin?
Thanks, Chris. Well, stick around because we're making ghoulish glazed meatballs in the Mr. Food Test kitchen. We'll be right back. It's time to check in with Howard in the Mr. Food Test kitchen. Today he has the perfect Halloween treat for you. These bite-sized ghoulish glazed meatballs get their ghoulishly good flavor from a combo of grape jelly, chili sauce, and lemon juice. Don't be surprised if all the ghouls and goblins in the neighborhood stop by to check out what you've made in your witch's pot, or we mean slow cooker. Take a look.
With all the hustle and bustle of Halloween, we're going to want something easy to serve to all our ghosts and goblins, no matter how old they are. And whether you're trick-or-treating, handing out candy, or watching monster movies with the lights out so no one knows you're home, we've got a slow cooker favorite that'll be ready and waiting whenever you are. We start off by mixing together a couple pounds of ground beef, an egg, a bit of breadcrumbs, some water, and a bunch of off-the-shelf spices. After we roll this into bite-sized meatballs, we place them in a slow cooker along with a sauce that we made by combining some chili sauce, grape jelly, and a bit of lemon juice. We cover it and let it cook on low. Before the first trick-or-treaters ring the doorbell, they're done. When you open the slow cooker, don't be surprised if all the ghouls and goblins in the neighborhood come by to check it out. So here's what I suggest. Go online right now and get the simple recipe for our ghoulish glazed meatballs. And yes, you still have plenty of time to make this today or any day, since it's done in less than 3 hours in a slow cooker. I'm Howard with Kelly in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen, where today we found a deliciously ghoulish way for you to say, ooh, it's so good.
To find this recipe, along with many others, just head over to our website at KOAMnewsnow.com and click on Mr. Food. Now here's a look at your 4th state market prices.
All right, again, briefly in the low 40s today. It is going to be cold for trick-or-treating tonight, so bundle up or go indoors for a trunk or treat. Near 50 tomorrow, warming up by the weekend, near 70 by Saturday. Shower chances out there and near 70 again. And of course, don't forget to set your clock back an hour. Will be nice on Sunday, partly cloudy, mid-60s, and more rain chances by Monday.
All right, well, Dow, happy Halloween, but more importantly, happy birthday.
Thank you. Yeah, it's kind of scary getting older on Halloween. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Well, what's coming up at 5? I'm going to tell you, Israel's military says it raided about 300 targets in Gaza during the last 24 hours, including tunnel openings and military compounds belonging to Hamas. Israel Defense Forces also said it killed the Hamas commander who directed the massacres at 2 Israeli communities on October 7th. As Israeli forces push deeper into Gaza, the humanitarian crisis there grows. Plus, millions are transferred to beneficiaries of Missouri's marijuana programs. And Mercy Hospital receives an award from the Department of Defense for supporting employees who serve. Hope you'll join us. KOAM News at 5.
All right, and that's the news for now. Thank you for joining us on KOAM News at Noon. Have a safe and happy Halloween, 4 states.